What's up, guys? Here we are with the predictions of this weekend's UFC card, headlined by Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. As wild as that main event sounds, there's a lot more wild fights on this fight card. Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price is insane. Devontae Smith versus Jamie Mullarkey is going to be an absolute barn burner. Kevin Holland's on the card fighting Kyle Dawkins. They are lowering the competition level for Kevin. Misha Serkinov versus Krzysztof Jotko, two guys who aren't known for their chins. Something crazy might happen there as well. But we are going to start with that Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price fight. There is a bit of MMA math going on in this one. Alex Oliveira lost to Randy Brown in the first round, whereas Nico Price finished Randy Brown in the first round. So that automatically means that Alex Oliveira is going to beat Nico Price, because there's always this trifecta going on with these fights when they have a mutual opponent. Now, both guys are not doing too great in their careers right now. They each only have 2 wins in the last 3 years. But when you look at Nico Price's victories, he knocks the opponent out viciously, but in both the James Vick and Tim Means fight, he did have a bit of trouble up until that finish. Whereas Alex Oliveira, he seemed to be a lot more dominant against Peter Sabata, but a close fight against Max Griffin. And the wildness that they come out in the fights with, it's hard to really gauge how they're going to approach this. Alex Oliveira usually keeps that bladed stance and lunges with big right hands and left hooks. He attacks at very far range, but doesn't do too well in close range, which automatically tells me that Nico Price is going to have a major advantage in close. Price is a lot more of a brawler, whereas Oliveira is a lot more of a sniper. If the fight stays a little bit too far away, I believe Oliveira is going to be able to catch Nico Price with long punches and long kicks. He's a bit more athletic than Nico Price. He has better footwork. He seems to be faster. And Price doesn't really move his head too much. He likes to guard up, but I could definitely see Cowboy's punches getting through the guard. Also, there's takedown attempts from Oliveira. He seems to be a lot more well-rounded when it comes to his skill set. Nico Price just makes things happen. There's like no game plan, no approach, no method to anything he does. He just swings kicks at you, throws his hands at you, and just happens to knock some of his opponents out. That's why for the majority of his fights, even in the fights that he wins, he's losing the majority of the fight up until Tim Means made a mistake of trying to parry what he thought was going to be a right straight from Nico Price, but it ended up being a right hook, getting around the parry and knocking him out. When he fights James Vick, he gets taken to the ground and just starts throwing up kicks and axe kicks from his back. One of them happened to land. So my prediction for this fight, I'm probably going to have to go with Alex Oliveira in this one. Also, he does have a better chin than Price does. Price has been knocked out viciously in some of his most recent losses, and I just honestly think that his footwork is not going to be good enough of getting inside of Oliveira's reach. Oliveira has to miss his punches or get in far too close throwing his shots for Nico Price to land on him, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with the more skilled Alex Oliveira, and I'm going to go by a second round TKO. And then we go to the main event, Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. If you think Oliveira and Price is a hard fight to really think about because of how wild they are, this fight just takes it to another level. Another fight with 2 fighters who don't really have a game plan going into fights necessarily. Johnny Walker has been trying to fight with a little bit more of a methodical approach, and Thiago Santos is trying to counter a lot more these days, rather than what he did against Jimmy Manuwa, just swinging at him and throwing high kicks all over the place. Obviously, according to the physical attributes, Johnny Walker is an absolute giant in this light heavyweight division. The guy can absolutely fight at heavyweight. He walks around at 238 pounds. He's 6'6" with an 82-inch reach, and he's extremely athletic. And his offense is off the charts. I mean, he is extremely dangerous when he's attacking the opponent, but it's his defense. His defense is almost non-existent at times. He doesn't pick his hands up. There's like no reason to his head movement other than just to move his head, creating an elusive target, but he's not necessarily reacting to anything with his head movement. The main defense of Johnny Walker is his footwork, is his ability to cross long distances and retreat with long strides. Just that footwork alone and his ability to attack from such a far distance, as well as being as creative as possible with his offense, can absolutely work against Thiago Santos' style, who generally switches stances a bunch, but he likes to counterpunch. And he likes to counterpunch with his hooks and uppercuts. He only throws long when he's moving forward. When he's usually moving backwards, he attacks with short punches. That can allow Johnny Walker, if he fights a little bit smarter, to keep Santos at the end of his shots. Don't go in for anything too crazy because Thiago Santos is much faster on the trigger. And just keep front kicks on him, keep leg kicks on him, keep a jab at all times, and constantly keep feinting. Those flying knees and those high-risk attacks have to take a backseat in this one. Yes, Thiago Santos can throw something crazy and expose himself and potentially get himself knocked knocked out. But man, we got to see some higher fight IQ out of Johnny Walker. So what I will say is, if Thiago Santos is constantly moving backwards looking to counter the longer guy, the higher his chances are to lose this fight, in my opinion. If he moves forward on Johnny Walker, the higher his chances are to win. Again, Walker is not great on the back foot. He's not great defensively. He wings wild shots, and he could catch you like he caught Ryan Spann, who was winning the fight and just fell under that tremendous power. But I think Thiago Santos' speed can get him by some of the danger that Walker can present. So honestly, it comes down to how Thiago Santos fights. If he moves back, there's a higher probability he loses. If he moves forward, there's a higher probability that he wins. So if I have to go and pick one of these two, I'm going to go with Thiago Santos. Even though he's not the same guy he was before after the knee injuries, I think he is smarter than Walker. And that's the main difference going into this fight. Anything can happen. Either guy can knock each other out. They're both so wild, and they both have crippling power, so it doesn't really matter how good their chins are. But I'm going to go Thiago Santos, and I'm going to go by a first-round knockout. And just like I said, man, there's a lot of wild fights on this card, which means there's a huge opportunity to go and bet on these fights with mybookie.ag. No one gives you better lines than they do, and the odds are moving rapidly. The wider the odds are for fights like Walker versus Santos, or Price versus Oliveira, or Smith versus Malarkey, there's possibly a smarter bet to bet on the guy who's the bigger underdog. So right now, Nico Price is a minus 190 against Alex Oliveira, who's a plus 155. Anything can happen in that fight. There's a lot of things going for Alex Oliveira, but there are times where he runs into danger. And if you're someone who's very confident in their picks throughout the entire card, you can go and line up a parlay to maximize your earnings. All you got to do is go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code WEASEL to activate the first deposit bonus, where MyBookie will double your first deposit all the way up to $1,000. Visit mybookie.ag today, where you bet, you win, and when you win, you get paid. And according to these betting odds, man, I absolutely do like Kevin Holland. I do like the odds on Alex Oliveira, and I really like Alejandro Perez, even though he is a very big favorite over the 41-year-old Johnny Eduardo. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.